1976, across our land, a new beginning is underway, led by a man whose roots are founded in the American tradition.
In the midst of Western New York's support for a Humphrey candidacy, Carter met behind closed doors with Buffalo Mayor Murkowski. Erie County Party Chairman Joseph Krangel dropped in, although Humphrey was not discussed. At a press conference, Carter had strong comments about Krangel's control of delegate slates.
Senator, Mr. Krangel is such a political boss. He has been the state party chairman in the past. He happens to be a close personal friend of mine, by the way. But I think that the control of the electoral process by even very popular people like Mr. Krangel is a thing to which I have a deep objection. What I would like to see done in the future is the artificial obstacles and the complicated mechanisms removed to permit anyone who wants to run for president to put their name on the ballot, and then to let any voter go and decide whom they want to be their president, without all the intermediate obstacles that have been created by Mr. Krangel and others like him who have been in strong positions of leadership in the party.
After the press conference, Carter was confronted in the hallway by actor Cliff Robertson, a Udall supporter. Carter arrived in North Tonawanda for the official opening of the campaign headquarters for that community, complete with ribbon cutting and an embrace for a baby. He met with local residents at the Packet Inn to take questions before an evening fundraiser in Buffalo. After that, Carter took off for Atlanta.
Ask me every day, how can you stand for your husband to be a politician and everybody know everything you do? And I just tell them that we were born and raised and still live in Plains, Georgia. It has a population of 683, and everybody has always known everything I did. And Jimmy has never had any hint of scandal in his personal or his public life. I really believe he can restore that honesty, integrity, openness, competence in government that we so sorely need in our country today. I think he'll be a great president.
I have a vision of America, a vision that has grown and ripened as I've traveled and talked and listened and learned and gotten to know the people of this country. I see an America poised not only at the beginning of a new century, but at the brink of a long new era of more effective and efficient and sensitive and competent government. I see an America that has turned away from scandals and corruption. I see an American president who governs with vigor and with vision and affirmative leadership. A president who is not isolated from our people, but a president who feels your pain and who shares your dreams. I see an America on the move again, united, its wounds healed, an America entering its third century with confidence and competence and compassion. An America that lives up to the majesty of its Constitution and the simple decency of its people. This is my vision of America. I hope you share it, and I hope you will help me fight for it.
On November 2nd, vote for Jimmy Carter.
I intend to conduct an open and above-board campaign.
I believe my candidacy will be healthy for the nation and for my party.
I was so angry and distressed and frustrated with what was going on in the White House that I was
willing to do anything to change it, including run for the presidency.
I have always felt that when you see things that need to be done and feel that you can do them, you ought to try.
Undertaking this campaign, I welcome the chance to do my share.
Well, I've been in 40 states, and I've been around this country, and our campaign is moving, and I'm here today to talk to you about it.
If you elect me President of the United States,
the most extraordinary political marathon in history began with more than a dozen candidates out of the starting gate, racing to the finish line. But fate, timing, and sheer grit determination destined that one man alone was to emerge from the pack. Masterminded by then 32-year-old Hamilton Jordan. Like other members of the Carter inner circle, Jordan was a rural South Georgian, but no carbon copy of the born-again candidate. The Georgia Mafia was earthy, irreverent, and profane, dedicated more to a man than an ideal. Press Secretary Jody Powell was brilliant, witty, and like a son to Jimmy, yet he was disorganized. He missed buses, forgot his briefcase, never returned phone calls. And yet this savvy band of young Carter disciples executed their presidential plans without the help of the establishment.
Well, I decided that I would run for president not too long after the 1972 convention. That was my first venture on the national scene.
I nominate as our president a great man from the state of Washington, Senator Henry Scoop Jackson.
Pas l'ange que tu espères, et mes petits mots doux ne riment à rien. Tu es toujours là quand se pointe le matin, comme un phare qui s'allumerait au loin sur la mer de tous mes chagrins.
Our strategy is public. Nothing secretive about it. Jimmy Carter has to do well outside of the South in an early primary to dispel the notion that he's a regional candidate or seeking the vice presidency. And secondly, that we have to do well inside the South against George Wallace. I'd say that other candidates don't have strategies that are meaningful. A comparable feat would be for Birchby or Mark Udall or Fred Harris to come into the South and run against us in Tennessee. They're not doing that.
J'ai toujours pensé que j'aimerais jamais. Et puis un beau jour tu arrives. Le soleil de mai qui mourait tout grand.
Well, I interpreted this first time that to win 2-1 over the nearest candidate was very gratifying to me.
Most of the other candidates are in the same financial posture we're in, of being dependent on those federal matching funds. The new election law, the dependence on the federal matching funds, results, we think, 2 or 3 candidates emerging from the early primary caucus. There are 6 or 8 candidates in New Hampshire, 6 or 8 candidates in Massachusetts, and the candidate that finishes 3rd or 4th or 5th in New Hampshire turns around and runs 3rd or 4th or 5th or 6th in Massachusetts will have spent all of his money, will be labeled a loser. It'll be very difficult for those candidates to continue.
Je t'aime encore autant qu'avant, même si je te dis moins souvent. Je suis peut-être pas l'ange que tu espères.
Carter had come to the Granite State repeatedly for a year with a secret weapon, a volunteer army of 100 Georgians known as the Peanut Brigade. Armed with leaflets, peanuts, and Southern charm, they spread the gospel according to Jimmy Carter door to door.
The ballot is very complicated.
To me, Jimmy Carter, of all the people I've met, relatives, friends, business associates, those in church, those in government, is the most dishonest person I have ever known.
Savoir t'aimer un jour à la fois, juste un petit moment pour essayer de comprendre les différences qui m'éloignent de toi. Jour après jour, tu peux compter sur moi. Je t'aime encore autant qu'avant. je te le dis moins souvent.
Earl Butz resigned today in the aftermath of repeating a 30-year-old joke, racist and obscene, about blacks. Butz is a man with a joke for every ethnic and occupational group. He usually tells the jokes to the groups, and they laugh. This one was different. ABC's Tom Jarrell has a report from the White House.
Earl Butz played the role of a loyal soldier to the very end. Political sounding showed farmers would be less upset if he resigned than if he were fired, so Butz quit.
This is the price I pay for a gross indiscretion in a private conversation.
But there was plenty of criticism from Democrats and Republicans before Butz quit. Even the president's running mate, Senator Dole, said, "You've got to be an idiot to say something like that." Sam Donaldson found that Jimmy Carter's main gripe was that President Ford didn't act as soon as the whole business came out.
Jimmy Carter got the news about Earl Butz only moments before he arrived in Denver. But not surprisingly, Carter didn't need much time to think about it. Mr. Ford, he said, had mishandled the whole affair.
And I believe that the way this whole embarrassing and disgusting episode was handled by President Ford shows a continuation of lack of leadership. Instead of making his decision based on what was right and best for the country, he very carefully waited until he assessed public opinion polls to see what was right politically. And when the political pressure got so great on him from his own people, then he finally accepted Earl Butz's resignation. I think he should have done it immediately.
At a downtown rally, Carter told the crowd the good news, as he put it. Earl Butz was out, then proceeded to hammer away at President Ford's alleged failure as a leader. By contrast, Carter said he would dust off Harry Truman's old sign.
If you elect me president, there's going to be a sign on the desk in the Oval Office, and it's going to say the buck stops here. And when our country makes a mistake, I'll be responsible. Somebody's got to lead this nation. Now nobody's leading, our country's drifting, and we've got to stop that drift. You help me and we'll stop it.
Going into the first debate with the Playboy interview dragging along behind him, Carter was clearly on the defensive. But now the tables have turned. As he heads west to prepare for the second round, it is Carter who has the psychological advantage. Thanks to the Earl Butz affair, it is Carter who is on the attack.
I'm going to tell you something funny. I'm not reading this off any paper. Of course, you know that, because you know me. I'm talking right from here. It's the only way I know. I like Gerald Ford. I don't know who you like. But most of all, he has something I like very much in every human being: simplicity and honesty. Because I really believe he's an honest man. That's why I like Gerald Ford. And that's why I hope that, I don't know, please think about it. It's so important. It really is.
Jimmy Carter, who has enough delegates pledged to win the Democratic presidential nomination, met today with the first of at least 5 potential running mates. Carter's visitor in Plains, Georgia, was Senator Edmund Muskie of Maine, twice governor of his state, the vice presidential candidate in 1968, a contender for the nomination in 1972. Sam Donaldson has details on today's meeting.
Jimmy Carter and Ed Muskie walked the streets of Plains today. They did not exactly walk alone. But then the business part of the visit, the 3 or 4 hours of private talk about the vice presidency, had already taken place. Now Carter was introducing Muskie to the tourists. Muskie happy to oblige all requests for pictures. Carter displaying his campaign style. Muskie discreetly hanging back so as not to risk hogging the spotlight. Both men inspecting the suddenly becrutched Jody Powell, Carter's press secretary, who sprained his ankle while leaping for a football. Finally, as Muskie departed from the grass airstrip outside of town, the two saying nice things about each other to reporters without making any firm commitments.
Tell us about your meeting. The governor, never having been in Washington, is, I found, has a deep interest in how he can best develop a relationship, a productive and constructive relationship with the Congress.
Senator, may we assume that if you are asked, you would accept?
Well, my view of this is that I don't make any decisions until the governor has made a decision.
Governor, may we assume that Senator Muskie leaves here not eliminated in your mind?
Well, that's certainly right, yes. I will wait until after, as I say, another week, at least before I make up my mind. But there's been a very good relationship between us, and I don't think there's any incompatibility at all, but I just want to keep an open mind about the future, and so does Senator Muskie.
One down, at least 4 more to go. Of such drama is the vice presidential nomination made. But what else is there for the Democratic Convention?
Il y a si longtemps déjà.
The delegates are gone. The hall is being emptied of its millions of dollars worth of equipment. The 1976 Democratic Convention is history. Jimmy Carter is now officially his party's candidate for president, and today he got down to work. Sam Donaldson reports.
The morning after can sometimes be simply awful, but not this morning after for Jimmy Carter and Walter Mondale. Breakfast with the Democratic National Committee was full of excitement and good humor. Carter jokingly complaining that Mondale's acceptance speech last night had upstaged his own.
I was getting ready to make my speech, and I was sitting there in a way hoping that Fritz would foul up his own speech to make me look good. And the longer he spoke and the more the crowd responded and the more incisive his analyses were and the more fervent the response, the worse I felt.
We've been drifting too long. We've been dormant too long. We've been discouraged too long. And we have not set an example for our own people, but I believe that we can now establish in the White House a good relationship with Congress, a good relationship with our people, set very high goals for our country, and with inspiration and hard work, we can achieve great things. And let the world know that's very important. But more importantly, let the people in our own country realize that we still live in the greatest nation on earth.
I love America just as all of you love America. It would be the highest honor for me to have your support on November 2nd and for you to say, Jerry Ford, you've done a good job. Keep on doing it. Thank you and good night.
It's 6 o'clock. Eyewitness News with Bob Jordan, Lee Watson, Steve Adams, and the Eyewitness News team.
Hi, everybody. Here's what's happening today. Across America, voters are turning out in record numbers to select a president, a new Congress, 33 new senators, 14 governors, and they're turning out, of course, to decide the fate of thousands of local races and state issues as well.